Alright, so now that you have your whole page filled in, okay, kind of like this here, now that you have the whole page filled in, what you're going to do is you're going to focus on, and you're going to spend the rest of your time shading. Okay, so you're going to shade this in with a number 2 pencil. Now, if you are somebody that's feeling a little ambitious and you would like to go into this with some colors, you could also use colors for this part of the project. I would suggest colored pencil. Alright, so this is all done with colored pencil. I will post a picture of this so that you can observe this, see how the different values change, etc. But pretty much the same rules apply with the colored pencils as they do with the pencil, like I'm about to show you right now. So the first thing is you need to think about lights and darks. So if you remember when we did the value scale, let's see, a few weeks ago, you had your value scale and you had it divided up into boxes, and 10 was the darkest, 1 was the lightest. Okay, so it went from dark to light. Now, for the ribbons, you need to have all of these values within your ribbon. Now, the way that it works is wherever the ribbon bends, right here, you're going to have some sort of a reflection. Okay? And wherever it overlaps, so do you see how this piece of the ribbon overlaps this piece? Well, all you need to do is you need to go from a 10, and I would recommend doing this in small consecutive circles, SCC. And I would recommend shading this in pretty much like a gradation scale. If you remember the gradation scale, gradation is just when values go from light to dark gradually. Okay? You could also take a blending stump and smooth out these values with a blending stump or a blending stick, whatever you prefer to call it. Okay, that sometimes helps with the smoothness of your values. So what you're doing is you're going to take this and you're going to apply it up here. So I'm just going to take my number 2 pencil and I'm going to start off with a 10. I'm going to work my way into the 9. I'm going to work my way through the 8 into the 7, and I basically want to time it up so that when I shade this in, I end up at a 1 value. Okay, I'm kind of going a little too fast, but I want to end up at a 1 value right before I get to the edge. Okay, and then I'm actually going to leave this part white because that's where the light's going to hit it and it's going to cast a reflection. Now, some of you may wonder, well, what do you do for this whole strip? If this needs to be a 0 value, which is white, and then it goes from 1, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about to 5. And then you're going to go back down 3, 2, 1, 0. So what you can do is you can lightly shade in the middle, probably like your typical middle value. And you want to shade this in a little bit neater than I am right now. I'm just kind of going through this for the sake of time so that you don't have to watch this video forever. And you're going to shade it from a middle value in the middle, which kind of makes sense. And then you're going to shade it to a lighter value in each direction. Okay, now once I get up here, I will shade this one just like I did with the previous side over here. So I'm going to shade this from dark to light going that direction. Now this one, it's just like this except it's the opposite. So you're going to go from a 10 to a 5 back to a 10. Okay? So you just have to think about how the shadows would be casted on the ribbons. Okay? Now I'll be honest with you, most of this project is going to be based on effort. Okay, I'm not necessarily going to grade you specifically on how realistic these ribbons look, but you should end up with a pretty good composition full of ribbons. You should have attempted to shade them all in accordingly, and I will create, actually I'm just going to add right onto this video. I'm going to show you a couple little tricks, because I know some of you are already wondering, how do I shade in the different types of ribbons? Okay, now some of these ribbons are a little bit trickier. Anything in the front, okay, so you see how this is in the front, this is front, this is front, and then this is back, back, back. Okay, anything in the front, we're going to keep it lighter. So we're going to keep this almost like a 5 value. And then what we'll do is we'll basically just create this gradation where it gradually gets lighter. Okay, so you can start off like your middle values here. And again, please don't do it the way that I'm doing it, because this is not going to get you a good grade. That's just really sloppy. But you understand that the values should be how I'm doing them currently. You just want to take your time so that you get a good grade. I'm simply just rushing through this for the sake of time. If you wanted to take a blending stump, you could slowly make sure that all these values get smoothened out. Okay, you could even do that going the other way as well. The blending stumps are really nice for getting those lighter values. So I do have some blending stumps. I'm going to try to smooth this out a little bit more. I don't really like the way that that looks. Okay, so that's my first part. Now this part back here, this is just going to be very dark because it's the back of the ribbon, and it helps me get that contrast that I'm looking for. So dark in the back. And probably it's going to start getting a little bit lighter towards the middle back here. I might even get down to like a 6 or a 5 value. But ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to have to start getting darker, because I need this to be dark enough to make it look like it's in the back. Alright. Now this is in the front, so I can shade this in lightly. I'll go ahead and take this blending stump to help me get those values blended together, and also help me get those nice subtle light values. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue this process. So now this needs to be dark. A little tip, I like to leave the top white. That way I can actually see that the ribbon is still there, because if I shade this in all black, it's just going to disappear. So I want to leave that kind of visible the way I did right there. Make this nice and dark. Okay, notice I left that little strip. It just helps make me kind of still see that. Alright, I can add this lighter value here. Take my blending stump to just fade that in. And then the same thing here, this is going to be a little bit darker. Okay, so if you look closely, I like to leave that little highlight so that I can still see it. If I shaded all that in, this whole part would just disappear. Okay, now this is how you do the cinnamon roll. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically show you how to do all the different shadings. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of this, because I don't want you to have to watch these videos for 20 minutes because I'd like you to spend more time on the drawing. So what I'll do is I'll post a picture and you should be able to visualize how this is going to look. Alright, if you have any questions, obviously, as always, feel free to send me an email.